Hi, thanks for stopping by. We're going to be working in the garden today, and we're going to, after we till in some amendments, we're going to go down into the basement and work on planting some seeds for this year. So what I've got today is I've bought a bunch of this organic soil that I've used ever since this garden was new. I think this is our 5th year with this garden, and just over time the soil has compacted or eroded or whatever, and you can see along that barrier there how far it's gone down. So I've got some more soil, and we also have some chicken manure that we're going to be tilling in also. I was hoping to get some from my friend, but he just didn't have enough. He actually just cleaned out and got rid of it. So I missed out on that, but I found this at our Home Depot. A lot of times Home Depot doesn't have this, but this year they did. So we're going to be mixing that in, and then once it's all down, I'll let it sit for a couple of days, and I'll come back with a rototiller and till it all up. Last night, along this back wall here, I poured some cement, and I'll show you that here in a couple of minutes. But right now, we're just going to start getting this soil laid out. All right. So that's the soil that we got. So we'll just kind of get this leveled out a little bit. Now granted, this will compact as we go, but I think I have a couple more bags too. So we may end up using those. Oh, the sweet aroma of chicken poo. When I lived in Kansas, it was a running joke that everybody got along with the wheat farmers, everybody got along with the corn farmers, everybody got along with the beef farmers, but nobody got along with the chicken farmers. But it's the most nutritious natural amendment that you can give the soil, especially for vegetables and crops like that. So I have a couple more bags of the garden soil, and I may put a couple more on top of this. I'll come out and run some water on this and get it to kind of pack down a little bit. And then I might add one or two more bags. And then after it sits for a couple of days, I'll run the rototiller over this and mix it all up really well with the existing soil that's underneath. So I poured some cement. I want to show you what that looks like. So it doesn't look like much, but along here, between the fence and the side of the raised bed, the soil was on a slant like this. So in walking back here, you were kind of slipping all the time and trying to, one time I actually almost fell into the garden, and I don't want to do that. So I poured some cement back here to make a level walking space. So we'll let this sit for a little bit, but let's go into the basement and take a look at our planting beds. We've got some trays that we're going to use, and we'll get started with that. This is our grow station that we have in our basement. We use this tray that holds 72 little squares, and obviously we're not using the last 2 rows. We do that so that we can water properly. I like this type of setup because when we plant the seeds, we don't want to be pouring water on top of the soil that can irritate the seed and make it rise up within the pod. So this type of tray, the tray sits in an outer tray. So the water is held in the outer tray and waters the pods from the bottom, so that all the water wicks up in the soil. So we leave these 2 rows open so that when we need to, we can add water to the tray system on the 2 ends, and then it will wick up in all of the little pods. So what we have planted so far, so each row is 6 pods. And so I've planted 6 of everything. So in this row, we have crookneck squash. In this row, we have Roma tomatoes, which did really well last year. And we're looking forward to that. Row 4 has cucumbers. Row 5, excuse me, has zucchinis. And these 2 rows have green beans. These 3 rows aren't filled with anything yet. And this row I'll tell you about in a minute. It's more of an experiment. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but we're going to try it. Let's see, where's my tray here, or my cover? So we have a heating pad underneath, under here. And then this cover goes on, and we just leave it sit, and this light is on for 12 hours a day. It comes on at 7:30 in the morning and it goes off at 7:30 at night. And having the cover on, it keeps the humidity in where we want it. We don't want it to evaporate and dry out. And then once they get to be about 2 inches tall in here, then we go with the dual red solo cup. We go with the dual cup method. So there again, we put a couple of little pebbles in the outer cup, which is sealed. We don't do anything to that. And then we take another cup and we poke a bunch of holes in the bottom, and we add the water to this. Then we add the inner cup with the punctured holes so that the water there again flows, it wicks up in the soil. Potting soil is really good for wicking the water. But we're going to get to that probably in a month or so. Hopefully I just planted these yesterday, and so hopefully here in a month we'll have some seedlings that we can add to our the red solo cups. Below this table, underneath, I have more grow lights, but they are for the red cup. So I'm not going to cover that right now under here. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to add 1 more row of green beans, and I just kind of wanted to cover that. When planting these, we want to be halfway through. We want to get the seeds down about 1 inch. about halfway deep in each well. So what I like to do is just take a pen, because the cap, that's about 1 inch right there. So we'll put that in, and then we'll drop in a green bean. And we don't want to pack it down too tight. We just want to close up where the soil was. We'll do the same thing to each one of these little cells, each one of these little pods, and we will get another row of green beans. Green beans are a great crop because you can harvest them and you can can them for later. We had some green beans and carrots and stuff that we grew last year throughout this winter, and we had some of the green beans on Thanksgiving, which was kind of cool. Now these other 2 rows that I don't have anything planted in, we're going to leave those open for right now. Any of you that have planted before know that once you get things going, something will pop into your head and it's like, oh, why don't we try this? So I wanted to leave 2 rows that we can add to things as we go. Now, the last thing that this row that I wanted to talk about was something that I'm just trying. So if some of you have been to In-N-Out Burger, I love their peppers. And I've found out what type of peppers they are, and I have some seeds. But and they usually are a later summer crop, so it's something you need a lot of heat for. But this time of the year, I just wanted to experiment. So I got some of the In-N-Out Burger the peppers that they have. And I got them last year, midsummer, and I let them dry over the winter. And then they just break open and you can get the seeds right there. Now, I don't think they're going to grow just because they've been through a pickling process, and usually, the pickling process will kind of kill the seeds. And then also because they probably sat in a big jar. Peppers are living things, and even when they die, they need to die a certain way so that you can reuse the seeds. Well, these probably sat in a jar full of liquid for a long, long time. So that by itself would also kill the seeds. But I don't know. My son and I were at In-N-Out Burger, and he says, "Oh, we should grow some of these." So, like I said, this is just an experiment. I really don't think they're going to grow, but I've got 6 of them in this last row. So I'll let you know how that goes. Like I said, if one of them, if any of them grow, I don't know if they'll actually produce peppers. So this is just an experiment to have some fun. So it's been exactly 1 week. I can't believe how big these have grown in a week. I have a feeling if they're growing this fast in here, I have a good feeling for the growth of the year. The crop this year is going to be good, I hope. So these have grown as high as they can when they're inside of the clear plastic lid. And you can see this guy's bent over a little bit because when I came in here this morning, he was already pushed up against the top and kind of bending. So I need to get these out of here and into our cups. So I've already filled the lower cups with water, and I've put a rock in the bottom of each cup. So we want to make sure you have a rock in there, because with each one of these, when we have a rock in here, it will hold it up a little bit off the bottom. If we just put it in there, it kind of seals, and the water, you won't have much water in there. So by having a rock in there, it holds it up off the bottom of that cup. and you can get more water and air can get in there too. So we just want to make sure we keep it elevated. You don't need a big rock, but just something to hold it up, maybe in half an inch to an inch. I've already got these lower cups filled with water and they have rocks in them. So we're going to get started filling these with soil. So we've got our cups and we want to fill our cups almost all the way to the top. We're going to take some of these that have the tomatoes, and when we fill the tomatoes, we'll only fill them about halfway with soil. We're not doing any of those today, but when we do that, we want to do that so that as they grow, we can fill more soil in, and all those hairs on the side of the tomato plant will turn into roots, and we can get the root system to be quite long, and it'll be a healthier, stronger plant. But today we're just doing the beans and the cucumbers and stuff. So those we want to fill almost all the way to the top. Now once this gets wet, it will compact down. So now I have all of the cups filled with soil. And so we're just going to gently put those in. Now you can see they kind of float, but then as they go, they kind of sink down. We don't want to push those in because if we just push them, the water will squirt out everywhere. But that rock that's in the bottom is holding the cups off the bottom, so there's room for a little bit of water down there. And then we'll just let that soak in and settle down. Okay, so what we need to do is, if you remember, this is a tray within a tray, and the tray with the water is on the bottom. And my experience with these is that when these seedlings get this tall, they probably have some roots that are down inside. And if we just scoop these out, we can tear the root system. So what I found makes it a little easier is to lift this out and set it. I have some paint sticks I'll set in here to hold this up. So the roots, instead of going down and sideways, will be able to hang down. And as we pull each one of these pods out, they will come out and the roots can follow up through the little slots in the bottom. Because otherwise we could tear the roots off and that wouldn't be good. And sometimes the seedling dies. So we're just going to set this up with some paint sticks. Okay. So now we have it elevated with some paint sticks. If you don't have paint sticks, you can use anything, a ruler, a piece of wood, anything. You just don't want to take this out and set it down because then the roots will be on the ground and it's the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way around here and try not to disturb the root system in here. We're going to pull it up and you can see the little roots. So we're going to put each one of these into their own little cup. trying not to disturb the plant too much. And trying to get it to stand upright. There we go. We got our first one. Yeah, you can see the roots there. There we have two. You have three. When you set them down there, just try to make a little spot in the center. Just kind of with your fingers move the soil out so that you can get some room for this soil out of the pod to go in. Yeah, you can see there's more roots right there. So I'll just move the soil out of the way. Get a nice area for those roots to go in. All right. Now those are all cucumbers. So we're going to put those over here. Now on the outside of the cup, I like to take a Sharpie and mark what this is. You could see last year there was a T there, so that was a tomato last year. You can reuse these as long as they don't crack, but these are cucumbers, so I'm going to do CU for cucumber. And the crookneck, we will do CR when they start growing. But here we go. So this, let's see, the row 5 is zucchinis. So we want to pull that up. Oh yeah, and you can see that's got a lot of roots on it. So we want to make some room for that. Get all those roots down in. I'm making a mess here. That one back there is not big enough yet, so I'm not going to do that. So these are green beans. There we go. You can see the root system on that one. There we go. So that's a zucchini, so I'm going to put a Z on that one. And then that's a bean, so I'm going to put a B. Okay. And this is a green bean also. Oh yeah. So that root right there went down through the bottom, and I would have tore it off had I not put it up on the paint sticks. So we want to make sure that's the tap root. We want to make sure that that goes down, because a lot of times if you tear the tap root off, it's no bueno for the plant. So I just planted this one bean in this red cup. And I noticed on the other side last year, I had this tomato plant I called my Zomti. It was a zombie tomato. So I named them Zomti. It was the weirdest thing. It had the stem, but where they normally have the primary leaves, there was nothing. It was just a stem. So it was like a zombie plant. So I grew it out, and it turned out to be, a full bearing tomato plant that lasted the whole year and provided lots of tomatoes. But anyway, I just saw Zomti on here and reminded me of that plant. So you never know what's going to take and what's not going to take. So now we have these. We're going to put them down below. What this is just a cheap Amazon desk that we bought. And it's got a couple of drawers up above. And then the plant, this is up here. And we have drawers right here. But down below, I put some grow lights up underneath. I just wired them in. And they're plugged in. We have I think it's called GoSund. It's a little Wi-Fi timer. And all of these grow lights are on that timer. They run for 12 hours. And so once the plants get to be this height, we put them down here. And we actually have two rows. This is the front row, and then there's a back row. So the plants can get quite big before taking them from here and putting them in the ground. I can't believe how quick these are growing. They are popping up like crazy. We've got 9 plants in our red cups, and you can see we still have some that are popping up. So I have a feeling within the next couple of days we're going to have our red solo cups kind of filled up, and we'll start weeding off of this. I haven't seen anything happen over here with those in and out peppers. So like I said, it was more like a bet that I had with my son. Well, why don't we try it? Let's just try it. So if they grow, then I'll buy him a In-N-Out burger. Speaking of my son, we were going to pull the motor off the tractor in this video, but he works full time and he works graveyards, so he's kind of got his hands full. So we're going to get to the tractor, pulling the motor off and doing the clutch on the tractor on our next video, I hope. That's how life goes. You get busy. So I appreciate you guys stopping by today. If this inspired you, I hope this helped anybody that's starting a garden. This is our, I believe, 5th year doing a vegetable garden, and every year it gets a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. That's something you can do even if you just live in an apartment. You can grow with those 5-gallon pails on a patio or on a deck. It doesn't take much, but it's kind of fun to work with the soil and grow your own food. You know what's going in them. So if this helped you, if this inspired you, or if you just got to laugh at how simple I do things, please give me a like on the video. I would appreciate it. And if you haven't done so, please think about subscribing. We're trying to grow this page, and it doesn't cost anything, but it definitely helps us. I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll catch you on the next one.